as far as having someone come in and check the wiring, and that's why, and I'm surprised something wasn't done after what happened in Smithfield. But nothing was done.
I'm sure you would, Terry. If you're going to go on site, because I guess we're having is this a formal complaint?
Well, I think something, not just one, something
Can we
has
just
to be
ask about
done.
the process?
But hang on, finish my thought. Terry, I'm sure you will do this, but if you go on the site for an inspection, probably routine on your part, I don't know, but have a uniformed police officer with you, just to have them there.
Yeah, that's what I would do. I wouldn't go with, I know the site, I've spoken to the councilwoman about it. I'm not going to mention it specifically, but I will have a police officer come.
And I'm not attacking the people there. They wave, they seem nice, but when you have all your windows blacked out, it's not very good.
I realize that, councilwoman, but to speculate that it's a business is putting them in jeopardy legally. And before we really know what it is, we shouldn't be doing that.
Well, we can
It's
find
just
out
my
if they're
opinion.
registered with the town as a business, correct? Can we not see if they're registered in town to have a business?
I'm sorry, say that again.
All businesses in the town of North Smithfield have to be registered with the town clerk's office as doing business in the town, correct? Okay, so that would be kind of the first step.
But if they're not meeting the requirements of patient cultivation, they're breaking the law, and that's a police matter.
Yeah,
Before it's a zoning matter.
got it. Be careful. You personally, physically.
Believe me, I will.
So can I just ask a question? This might be a dumb question. The medical marijuana under the district use regulation, we have no's across the board. We have N's across the board on the medical marijuana under the district use regulation of the zoning ordinance.
Except for patient cultivation.
Right, okay,
That's
that
allowed
I
in
figured
every
was-
zone except the open space.
So we're saying anything that's non-patient cultivation would be a business is a no. What, everything else is no if it's non-patient?
Right.
That's
Everything
what
else
we're
is
talking about, non-patient.
Caregiver,
versus patient today. Okay.
medical marijuana, and
No, I got it.
agricultural zone. It's all no.
Mrs. O'Hara, does that,
I think, I just think,
this will
absolutely,
satisfy your concerns?
absolutely.
That's why I was asking if you would reach out to anybody in the town administration to pursue this.
Well,
Definitely don't want you going over there knocking on the door. It's not the right thing to do.
Well, they seem,
Oh, Mrs. O'Hara,
They
I
seem-
would knock on the
She's
door.
tough, but, you know,
They seem
you
pleasant.
gotta handle this the right way, and I think that
it's just that
the building
if
inspector is
it was
aware
in
of
the
that.
mountain somewhere, but the constraints of these lots, it wouldn't take much.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
All set?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, discussion by council board other action on abatements. We have a abatement report. Mr. DeJesus?
It's just an assessment adjustment that Michelle is recommending of $694.42.
There's a recommendation by the tax assessor and the finance director for an abatement on Providence Pike Realty 2 LLC, 100 Providence Pike, North Smithfield, in the amount of $694.42. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bonioli, second by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Next item, discussion by council board or other action on upgrade to PowerSchool contract regarding Phoenix program. Ms. Davis?
Yes, this is the current accounting system that we're currently using for accounts payable, the general ledger, all our reports that we provide to the auditors. They are requiring everybody that's on the system to do an upgrade as of July 1st. I was not going to put it until July 1st, but they offered us a $32,000 discount if we pay 50% this month at 50% after July 1st. So currently, instead of us paying $57,000 for the software upgrade, we're going to be paying $22,000. So I'm recommending to town council to approve us moving forward with the 50%, at least paying the 50% so we can get going with the implementation. It's going to take about 2 to 6 months for it to even be up and running. So my goal is to have it up and running for the July 1st deadline.
So you've heard the recommendation to award to PowerSchool Group LLC contract in the total amount of $22,491.81 with $11,245.91 due 12/2/2019 and the balance due on 7/1/2020 of $11,245.90. Is there a motion to approve and authorize the signature?
I'll make the motion, Mr. President. Also in the motion to reflect the discount of $12,850.20, paying it 2 payments.
Motion by Mrs. Zelinski, is there a second? Second by Mrs. O'Hara. Under discussion, this is the Phoenix software.
Yes.
that-
We've been using it for years.
When Mrs. Bosnioli and I were on the budget committee years ago, there was talk of that this Phoenix wouldn't even be continued, that it was going by the wayside.
They were
It
saying
would
that.
be
That's why
renewed.
I believed it until they actually came.
But it works.
Right.
And these upgrades will bring us,
Right up
That's
to,
up to
yeah.
speed.
It's going to be cloud-based and all that. It's going to be a great system.
How often do they look to upgrade it? Is this the first?
They did not mention any upgrades after this. They were going to actually, the software that we currently have is going to be obsolete. They won't even maintain it anymore.
Okay.
So they're actually forcing all the municipalities to either upgrade or go with another,
different vendor.
a different vendor. And for us to go to a different vendor, it's going to cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands. People have already put RFP out there. And a couple of towns have gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item, discussion by council vote on other action on department transfer requests.
Gotta pay for
This is
something.
regarding how we're going to pay for it. So my recommendation is, we had the support staffing, we had budgeted $15,000 for the town clerk, in case we needed to bring back the town clerk to assist
Part-time basis.
on a part-time basis. We did not have to use any of those funds. So I'm asking the council if I can use $11,245.91. Move that from the staffing line and move it to capital.
So moved.
With the recommendation, there's been a motion by Mrs. Zelinski, seconded by Mrs. O'Hara. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item, discussion by council vote on other action on Souza Family Limited Partnership Request Purchase, 950 Old Smithfield Road, Plat 13, Lot 25, no action necessary. And lastly, item 8, discussion vote or other action on preliminary discussion on historical preservation in town, including but not limited to tasking planning board to host a workshop, comprehensive plan, review of any existing ordinances, definitions, and historical inventory. Mr. Osier.
Yeah, so thank you, Mr. President. So I put this on because I was rereading the comprehensive plan that we recently adopted, and I noticed that it talked a lot about how, early on it talked about how the document was based on the 1980 Register or preliminary report from the RIHPC, and then I saw that that was issued in 1989, but it was based on inventory from 1980. And so I looked at other communities, and I just included a Historic Preservation Commission committee that was in Smithfield as an example. And I looked at more of their comprehensive plan as well. And they have, they identified similar language in terms of, that they were working off of a report from 1980. But they've since then identified different areas in town that are potential to be either added to the historical register or are flagged, and they're flagged on a map along with cemeteries and other things so that people are more aware. It doesn't have any power to say, but at least it makes people more aware that there are certain remnants and I think it's important that, we look at these things. I know it's in our plan to eventually update this list of inventory, so I didn't know if this was a good time to stop doing that as we talk about new development coming in. And, once we build over these things, they're gone forever. So I think in maintaining the character of the town, it is of importance. I know a lot of people move to town because of the historical charm that it brings, and, if we don't know it's there or we don't have means to catalog it and document it so that maybe it prevents certain things, we would have missed an opportunity. So I thought it made sense to do with the planning boards and say are the ones that address the comprehensive plan. And I know we're allowed to amend 4 times a year. So this is why I wanted to bring it before the council.
When I read what this commission would do, it kind of mirrors what we already have 2 groups in town doing. One is the Historic District Commission, which has problems, have been through it. With them being, and they do monitor, and they do follow through on identifying things. And the other group is the Historic Society, the Heritage Association, which does document these things. So we do have districts that, when you work in these districts, you need to follow the historic district guidelines, and then we are identifying other areas. So I think this would be a redundancy of what we're getting done in town right now.
Yeah, you bring up a good premise, but I wasn't saying we need to launch a new committee. I know that we have the Heritage Association, the Historical District Commission. I was more just trying to get at how do we identify new potential areas that maybe weren't identified back in 1980 or 1970 or whenever that original inventory was put together. I know I've seen things on Facebook of certain areas in town that aren't identified as historical areas of significance, but yet they may be. So how do we get those things updated to reflect it so that we don't potentially build a development on something that maybe belonged to a Native American tribe or early 1800s, 1900s, those types of things. I know a lot of our comprehensive plan focuses on the mills and the Blackstone Valley River corridor and all those things, which are of high importance as well, but it's also the things we don't see. So if we have those groups, how do we work with those groups to update our inventory and do it in a more timely manner instead of we'll get to it over the next 25 years?
Generally, as you mentioned, for mills, for example, a large former Andrews mill was recently placed on the National Register. That was done by the owner for purposes related to tax benefits should they develop. So on a property by property basis, if the home or structures are of a historical significance and they're not already listed in that 1980 report you mentioned, there's a way to get them, recognized in that list. But that's something that would be done at the decision of the property owner generally. Things like cemeteries, they're pretty well categorized. A lot of them are GPS. There's data out there through, again, the Rhode Island Historic Preservation Heritage Commission. But they're on private property in many cases, too. They come up when usually development is proposed for property, and then planning board will do a site walk, they'll scope it, make sure they identify it, protect it. That actually came up recently for one of the solar projects. And then to just kind of piggyback on what the President said, you've got local districts. Local districts are the ones where in which, there's regulations that apply. The local commission, historic district commission, can prevent even demolition. They have to authorize, even that kind of action. National historic districts, which might be bigger in geography, units and structures within national districts, they don't necessarily, there's nothing to prevent them from being modified. There's a financial incentive for property owners to get tax credits to keep them historic in nature, but there's no legal, mandate that they have to be protected. I'm just kind of, I know I'm speaking generally, but this is how this works. So if you wanted to add and expand districts to make them local districts, to get them under local control, you would simply expand those local historic districts to make them larger, to encompass the areas of interest.
And I know a lot of the comprehensive plan talks about education and educating homeowners and residents in town about the historical areas in the community. And so part of my thinking was, if it's not on the inventory list, and it may or may not be there, how do we go about educating? And so that's why I wasn't sure
Well, you can
if that's
simply,
like
yeah.
the planning board to have more community-based workshops to make any changes to the inventory list and work its way up. So that way maybe, I mean, if you don't know it's not there, how do you know? And if these committees are working to map out or to identify areas, or trying to, like I know the Heritage Association is a cemetery walk, right? So that's one way they could educate. But how do we educate better? And so that's why.
Yeah, you're describing something that really would go through the vein of the local historic district commission, I think, first. They're going to be the experts in that, with the knowledge of it, the types of structures that are already included, or maybe even other ones that they'd like to include. I know when we recently had the comp plan updated, accepted, one of the comments back and forth with the state was they wanted the historic district maps changed in format, and we did that. The new comp plan is on the website, so that's the one you can look at. But again, if you identify, or if it's a desire to make sure that more properties are included in the National Register or whatnot for protection, or as a local district for protection, it would come really through the HDC, and then it becomes like any other zoning matter. The planning board would have input at some point through the process to expand the district. It comes to this board for a formal approval and endorsement. So in terms of an exercise to go digging, to quantify and kind of figure out what should be added, it might be best to start with the HDC on that kind of task, just because it's so knowledgeable already about that. Again, we're talking about historic district, historic structures. Archaeological sites is a whole different, analysis. Does that help, Doug?
I mean, I just know that the historical piece is really important, especially in Northern
Oh, yeah.
Ireland, right? I mean, I just read last week about how Cumberland, I know they referenced Union Village as an example, but they're starting an initiative to further launch their historical preservation as well. And I know that in Smithfield, like I said, if you look at their map, they have 371 dots all scattered around of potential areas of archaeological significance. And it's more the archaeological piece that's more of how do you document it, how do you know it's there.
The 1980 study still stands. That's a good basis to still launch from and say, hey, are these old homes still here, or have they been modified already? Have they all been wrapped in vinyl siding since their original analysis in 1980? But what I'm trying to do is understand what it is that you want to frame as a project, that maybe from there identify the workload with it and what's the outcome going to be. That agenda item that's on here is pretty all-encompassing, so I want to hear what you were thinking. I'm trying to describe to you what the process is and how things are related to zoning, because you're a little bit familiar now with zoning. You've gone through amendments and what it takes, and looking at one little paragraph of the zoning ordinance can take you 5 hours. So what do we want to do? What do we want to achieve?
And it does.
You know what I mean?
Right, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I was
I'm not
just
saying
curious how
that
we go
because-
about updating the inventory. That
Yeah.
was the first step of that. So that way you can further educate. I know it comes up as it's built, but
That's still a great document, and on a property-by-property basis, it's still the standard. What they did in the 80s in all these towns was significant to categorize the status of those properties and their historical nature.
Have anything else?
no, I mean, I think it's of importance, but it doesn't sound like, I can make a motion. I know we're running against the 10 o'clock. So I guess I'll just continue. I'll make a motion to extend the meeting for another 5 minutes. 30 minutes? Yeah, 30 minutes. Motion to extend.
Second.
Motion to extend the meeting for 30 minutes by Mr. Osier, second by Mrs. Lawrence. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Is it possible to make a motion that we could ask the Heritage Association, Historical Commission, I know we've done joint meetings in the past, but maybe have them come and speak into the significance of areas in town,
Yeah, that would be a good thing to do.
to help with the public
Yeah,
education
yeah.
as well.
They're the experts. If you generally had questions about what's out there, what are we capturing everything?